Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of CoffeeConnect. Today we have Brett Norris and Mark with us today, along with Shane, my creative director. So today's going to be a very fun chat over the talks of fitness, mental wellness, and all those things along those lines. Right? Because think about it, they're all interconnected, right? There's not like fitness is in its own realm and mental wellness is own, and they're all interconnected at the end of the day, right? So I just want to have a good chat with you guys on how we can, and talk about different elements of it as well, right? But to start it off, why not, Brett? Just to know a little bit about you as well. Do you mind like talking about you and your
Yeah,
origin story, basically?
yeah, sure. So essentially, in my work, I help ladies mainly who are looking to rediscover themselves after injury. So that's what I do as a job. So I'm mainly working with pain, but looking into movement and strength work, what you'd expect of a personal trainer, dipping into what you'd expect of a rehab professional, and then also what you expect of a life coach is kind of an amalgamation. And I really like that you say mental wellness, because we have this association to mental health that whenever we mention it, it means a negative, which is already not a great thing. So yeah, I'm pleased that I'm coming today, and we're going to talk about the interconnections between the industry, because I think it's so important for us not to see things in binary terms and isolated terms, but to bring everything together. And then hopefully we can talk about practical tools that people can take away, rather than just hacks and tips that don't really tend to go anywhere. Yeah.
Off to you, Mark.
Yeah. So I'm a PT, the youngest probably.
You're not.
Really young
Why does he say that?
But yeah, no. I work with a lot of people who are just looking to get in shape. People who don't know how to get in shape. People who are just struggling with a lot of issues in terms of like they want to get fit but don't know how to. Or people who want to get fit but they're struggling, like they have some issues, could be with the heart or things like that. So just working with people who have issues of like high blood pressure and things like that, And I also work with kids and athletes on developing their coordination and stuff as they're young. So as they grow up, they can be good athletes.
The first thing comes to mind is, so for you, Brett and Mark, right? Like as a kid or as a college student, was fitness or something along those lines something you really wanted to pursue, or how do you get into this whole space of performance recovery and all that? How do you get into it?
I started in school. I was always an athlete in school, always just doing athletics mainly. And I did play football and basketball in school. And then as I entered my IGCSEs, I had to take PE as a subject. So I took that as my O-levels, I took PE. And I had to major in 4 sports. Okay. So in PE, it's just not, you play sports, you learn the practical as well. So I had to learn how do you treat cuts, how do you treat wounds, how do you treat muscle pulls, how do you coach a team, things like that. So it was part of my assessment, and then I had to major in 4 sports. So I chose basketball, football, athletics, and field hockey. And you had to really excel in those sports to get an A-star. And I studied really hard to get an A-star, and I managed to get it. But it's like 50% of your grade was theory, but almost like 80% was practical, because I really wanted to see if you could play the sports as well as, that you write about it. So that's kind of where my passion stemmed from. I initially wanted to study commerce. I wanted to be like all commerce student. At one point I wanted to be a doctor, and I was like, but I was completely focused on choosing commerce. I did take it, but I managed to take PE. And I think if I hadn't taken PE, I wouldn't be here today, because I learned a lot of practical tools where people, and with athletes and stuff, it's a big mental game, really. A lot of people are just, especially being an athlete, you have to compete with so much. You have to deal with real life issues as well as perform high. And performing high all the time is not as easy as it sounds. You have to deliver your best all the time. And yes, that's the goal, but you can't always give 100%. There are going to be times where you fall short, So that's what I learned in school. I had to train competitively, and I realized like along the way I had injuries and I needed to get fitter, and I wanted to find a way to do that. Okay. So that stemmed from me wanting to become a physiotherapist, which is still the end goal. Sure. But I found about PT because I studied to become a physiotherapist. That was the main goal. Sure. And I worked some jobs here and there, and I managed to save enough money to get this PT, fund my PT basically. Sure. And when I did it, I was so excited because I learned about so much. I learned how to take care of clients. I learned how this can help physiotherapists and can help clients. So you go to a physiotherapist if you've got an injury or something, right? They'd give you exercises to do, but if you want to get stronger and better, you take these exercises, you'd go to a gym, you tell a PT, hey, this is the things that I have, kind of what, Brett kind of specializes in. And then I would be like, okay, so you have an issue with so and so and so, these are the exercises you need to do, this is what you need to do. Take it to your PT, you can do that from there based on your own goals, So yeah, that's basically about it. That's where it stemmed from being an athlete to school to now just coaching.
So you know, it's funny you mentioned it's kind of like it's all in your head as well, because sports, just think about it, right? It's all a mentality at the end of the day. I remember my coach used to tell me, hey, football is a game of 80% in the head and 20% of your skills and whatever it is, right? And I watch for that as well, because it's all in the head at the end of the day, you know, because all these sports, all these athletes, top ones, they have therapists, they have all these kind of people to kind of get the mentality fluid, isn't it? But you mentioned PE as well, because I remember when I'm PE in uni and school, what I thought PE students do is just play around and come back. Hey, you know, I'm studying PE. Is what I thought in my mind before. But as I progress, I understand. Hey, it's a vast topic and is booming right now, isn't it? Yeah. But it's very cool to know that, Mark. But how about you, Brett? How do you get into the whole?
I think we have seeds of belief planted in our brain at a young age, and then it kind of comes to fruition. So I was always told as a kid that I was a very kind person, a lovely person, that I should be a teacher or something like that. And so that's how I started seeing the world, that I could help people, I believe. And so my reason for getting in the industry wasn't so much of for my own needs, if you like. It's because I love people and I love helping people and making people feel better. So from the age of 10, I knew what I wanted to do, not as a personal trainer, but I knew I wanted to help people. And then I was one of the only people at my uni that actually knew what they wanted to do when they left, because a lot of people going to uni, they haven't got a clue what they're going to do, right? Yeah. So by that point, I knew what a personal trainer was. So I thought, well, I'm going to do sports science, then be a personal trainer. And then even at that stage, I was just saying to Mark, like the thought of doing rehabilitation for me was like playing football and being a coach. It was so boring. Like the thought of it, I didn't want to do it. And then in 2007, I tore my ACL playing football. And I was forced to go through surgery. Well, I went through surgery, and I just saw the pitfalls in the service and the disconnect between a doctor and a chiropractor, osteopath. And I was thinking, gee, I've got a degree and I'm lost. Like, how does the average person get through this? And so then it gave a purpose to my passion, and then made me want to step into that. So then I started leaning on the back of physiotherapists, because I was 23, 24, 25 by this time. I didn't really want to go and do a 4-year physiotherapy degree. Yeah. So what I did was I leant on the shoulders, if you like, of physiotherapists, chiropractors, osteopaths, and said, hey, I've got this client. This is what I think their problem is. This is what I would do with them. Do you think that's okay? And they say, yes, now I'm covered and I can go and do the work. And then I started seeing the change that my work could elicit in people, and it was just so valuable. And then I started getting into that. And then as my time has evolved, and again I was just saying to Mark that probably wasn't until 2018, I'm in Dubai, I work at Fit Republic, and I'm seeing an absolute ton of clients, right? Like we're working hard, right? Seeing a lot of clients. And it wasn't until that point that I made the connection that people weren't failing to meet their goals because they didn't just try enough, I didn't have the information. It was mainly because what I was seeing, and this was quite groundbreaking to me, is that in their own belief system, they were creating a version of themselves that was literally sitting in front of themselves, blocking them from the person they want to become. And so my work now is removing that story you're telling yourself about yourself, and that persona that you're creating that is literally getting in the way of where you want to become. And that is now, it's so much more related to studied neuroscience and biomechanics and all of these things. And so it's really set on the person, and really looking into why is it that these people have the best intentions but just can't seem to match it. And you only have to talk to someone some family member, a friend, whoever, and limited beliefs will just start coming in straight away, right?
A couple of things, Brett. So you mentioned how university, or at least you knew, everyone told you, hey, you know what, you have a good way to talk to people, and you know, you kind of as such, right? Because I think what you did is you played to your strengths, right? So I think many university, like we graduated a while ago as well, they don't know what they want to do, and they're very confused, right? The thing is, hey, what now, isn't it? So for you play to your strengths. That is the kindness. I mean, you understood this is your traits, and I want to play with it. I want to play towards it, right? How about you, Mark? So I'm guessing in school or whatever it is, right? Like you always knew this is the field you want to get into. Or you said you want to be a doctor as well in between. So was it an actual, because I know how the whole Indian psychology is like, a doctor,
exactly.
Engineer.
Exactly.
That's
just
it, right?
the big three, doctor, engineer, pilot. That's
pilot,
yeah.
So that's how it is. So how is it for you? Like, it was something through university, right? Or school. Yeah. Were you always confused or something you always want to do? Or?
No, I think from a young age, I think, let's say from year 7 onwards, that's when you really start thinking about, okay, career. Your parents are like, what do you want to do with your life and subjects. And then when it came time to choose my subjects, I remember the year before I wanted to choose my subjects, I wanted to do all science. Really, I did want to pursue and become a doctor. And I didn't really think about physiotherapy. Like when I talked about like becoming a doctor, I just heard bones and muscles and knew that was, you know, what some doctors do. I forgot terminology. What's the terminology? Bones and
Physiology.
yeah. So anatomy and physiology. That's what I kind of wanted to get into, being a doctor. I was like, okay, let me just be a general doctor, you know, ready to take on all science. And then the day that came to choose my subjects, I don't know what made me choose all commerce, thinking maybe I'll be a businessman.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to, I had a passion for science, just learning about how the human body works. But I was like, listen, when you take bio and, you know, year 10 or stuff, you learn about plants and animals, and I'm like, you know, I want to learn all these things, you know. So I always had a clear idea of I wanted to be successful. That's where it all started from. I wanted to be a success, you know, I want to be a success. And over the time, my idea of success changed, you know, and it was a good thing because success is not money. You know, you could talk to someone who works as a construction worker, like, what's success to you? Like, success to me could be just having a normal job where I can come home to my family and work, relax, you know. So success to me, how I would define success, is just being not comfortable where you are, but being happy with what you've got, being happy and being in a place where you can help others. You know, it's not about having money, because you meet millionaires now today who have so much money and they're still not happy. So what stemmed from me to kind of find out what I'm doing is I had an idea that I wanted to be successful, and I kind of used my own passions and my own purposes in terms of like, okay, I love helping people, I love talking to people, what can I do? And I love sports as well. And everyone thinks now, for example, if you're an automobile engineer, okay, but you love being a doctor, for example, you know, you being an engineer but you wanted to be a doctor, right? How can you relate both fields together? So now you being an engineer, right, you're like, okay, let me make a car that's more geared towards disabled people. So you get a chance to work with doctors. So you always fit your passion into what you're currently doing. Everyone thinks you've got to change your field and kind of move into this, but no. If you're already outside the box, create your own box if you want. Create your own niche. You know, everyone's just like, okay, I'm a chef, you know, but I wanted to be this, you know, or I'm a chef, but I want to be a doctor. Okay, be a chef that cooks healthy meals, you know, plan healthy meals for people who don't know how to make meals, you know, maybe like 5 minutes a day. What can you do to make your meals better? Every day, what are you doing basically to just make your day better, you know? And that's where it kind of stemmed from for me, passion and purpose, you know, over position.
Yeah, like I really feel, at least in the modern world, like there's a lot of freedom to choose what you want to do, and there's a lot of middle ground in between many different fields. I feel like around 40-50 years ago, like a job is a job. Like if you're an engineer, like you build things and that's what you do. But now with the modern world and just everything being more interconnected, like you have way more freedom to do something and be more creative in your field and just like reach out. So it's a great world that we're actually like evolving into. And you also mentioned something about saying that, you know, you have to be at the top of your game mentally and physically, and also and from what I can gather from what you're saying is that it's not only about, oh, like I know how to lift weights, I'm like I can teach you that. Like, there's also a lot of like background knowledge that you have to learn in order to enter the field, and I feel like most people who don't enter this field won't know that. So do you feel having to be at the top of your game mentally as well as physically, like it's pretty demanding compared to like a desk job where you have to only work with your brain?
I actually think it's easier.
Okay.
Because never forget that I'm only advising people. Right? I can literally walk from the kitchen and my life is falling apart, walk into the room, put a smile on, and I just need to get that person to a better level, right? Yeah. So I'm advising the poor person sitting in an office has to be at their best, doing whatever, sales, whatever, with their manager there and everyone else around. They've got everyone else who's performing the same job that they're doing. That is way harder than coaching. I don't think many coaches are going to say that, but I'm just advising at that point. But in terms of how I get to a level in order to be able to advise, I must have been able to have, hopefully, have achieved that myself, to then be able to, with some authenticity, to be able to give that to others. So in that sense, I think we have a lot more awareness of it, which makes it harder for sure, because we know when we're feeling down, we know our body's not off. But I would say in terms of the way you frame the question, I'd actually say it's harder for the office person. Okay. Because they're actually doing it. Right. I'm just advising.
So you know what, Brett, I remember the first conversation we had, you spoke about having too much self-awareness is a bad thing as well, right?
Yeah,
so what's funny is after that call, it got me thinking, I'm not lying, I was thinking every day I was driving, hey, what's talking about?
It was on the call, you're like, oh my God.
Afterwards I was driving, like, hey, that doesn't make sense, because I'm reading a lot of books about, you know, about introspection, all that as well right now, and what they always say is be self-aware and you know, be aware of your surroundings and this and that. So I just understand, like, what do you exactly mean by, how too much self-awareness would be kind of detrimental to you?
So I'm generally working with people with problems who have a problem for a year to 30 years plus. Now the people that I meet who have problems who can't get rid of them. Well, let me ask you guys, you meet someone and they cannot get rid of a problem. Where's their focus?
Where's it? On the problem.
Right, there we go, right. So too much self-awareness is not a good thing, because you tend to find that there are people that just focus on problems all the time. So they'll essentially something has happened in their life and their emotion has stuck around long enough that has formed a personality, and now they look like. So essentially what I mean by this is, if I'm too self-aware of my problems, generally what I'm going to do is there is an emotion that I have attached to that problem. And the brain is like Teflon for good experiences, right? Like, it just gets rid of it. But it will be like a sticky pan to negative experiences, so it will keep hold of it. So if all I'm doing is so I guess I'm going to caveat this for people that might want to keyboard in, is that maybe if you've got self-awareness around positives, it might be a different story. But generally people who are overly self-aware about negatives or things they want to change, right? So in that sense, what you're doing is you're overly self-aware about a situation that you're attaching an emotion to. And now what actually happens as you go through in life is you can't do life without the presence of that emotion. Now you will meet people who are always anxious or frightened. They're in a car and they're like, right? And there's no one else on the car, right? You go down a space that sort of seems too narrow and you feel as though they're just focused on hitting the sides. You're focused on just driving down the path. The problem with self-awareness is that you are self-awareness without making steps forwards. That's the biggest problem that I see in people that have a 30-year problem. If you want to keep a problem 30 years, be self-aware. Be really self-aware and buy your self-aware books, right? And keep reading them and just be self-aware and self-aware and self-aware, because it will just dig you deeper and deeper and deeper. You need tools. You need people around you that are your actual friends that say, do you know what, I know you're aware about this, but we need to start doing something, right? Why is it that you're so self-aware? Start questioning why they want all of this self-awareness, because ultimately it's probably a protection to not have to take steps forwards.
So I think there's a healthy balance between being self-aware, knowing what your problems are, how to fix it and move on, or being just extremely focused on a problem and not thinking how you can actually move forward in life. So I guess that's what you do to some part.
It's never binary, right? It's never like self-awareness is not good or bad, but it's just in the sense of like we're all on social media nowadays. Yeah. Like you go into someone's house and they've got a bookshelf of 100 books. They've probably read one of them, but like 90 of them are self-awareness books, right? Yeah, it's nothing's ever binary. Everything is always exists on a spectrum. But the way that I see life and when people talk about self-awareness, it's usually attached to a negative, and it's usually someone who can't overcome a problem, I would say. But of course, everything exists.
I understand. So you know what, Brett? Majority thing what you're saying is, have you read the book called Reality Transurfing? It's a beautiful book. You guys should read it. So I'm reading the book right now. Viewers, you got to check it out. It talks about positive thinking and essentially how can you choose the reality you want in life, right?
It's really cool.
It's really good.
I love this.
So I'm still in the first 100 pages. So what they talk about is kind of, as you said, do not focus on the problems. Like try to avoid negativity as much as you can through negative news, negative people, and all these sorts, and try to keep your mind even when you're sitting idle. Think about accomplishment, think about things you want to do, think about positivity, right? Because that's what's going to manifest in your life as well. And I'm a huge believer in manifestation and things of that sort as well. So taking a little bit of a spiritual turn, Mark, are you a believer in manifestation, or do you think that's practical in your life? Or have you used it?
In terms of manifestation, I feel like if you really think about something too much, that then tends to become, like you said, become self-aware.
I agree. Yeah.
You become more aware of that problem. So if you do really focus on something, you can focus on like moving a bottle your whole life. It's not going to move, right? But if you focus on being successful and you don't do anything about it, you'll never be successful. That's just how it is. Like if I said, okay, I want this client, I want to coach him, and I want to see how he lifts the weight, but he's never lifted a weight in his life. And I'm like, okay, lift it. And it's like so heavy and you can't do it. He needs my help. And if I just keep imagining it and keep saying it enough times, it's not going to work. I need to actually get up and do it. Sure. So I do believe that you need to have a clear mind. An idle mind is always the worst mind that you can have, because anytime when you're not focused on something, when your mind's empty, it just means people can put things into your mind, but when your mind's full and filled with something, it makes it harder for things to come into. And so when you
so yes, I get what you're trying to say is be more goal oriented. So in the sense that you want to achieve something, keep that in mind, work towards it as well, not just sit down and manifest per se, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Act on it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a huge segue. I'm going to take a completely different turn. So, but you told me so it's very interesting. So, I love football, right? And you have gone through the whole semi-professional route of football, right? So, how's your experience? And I'm pretty sure you have some good stories in professional football as well. Like, I just want the viewers and us to
for the
hear
viewers,
as well.
not professional football. I don't want any of my friends or family go, you didn't play for professional football. Yeah, no, I have good stories. Probably some I can't share. But I would say a nice story. This is a nice story, right? So I was playing for a team called Stansted, and I think we were 2-0 down at half time. I was captain. We were 2-0 down at the time, and I went into the changing rooms, and instead of naturally at that age, about 27, 28, I want to go in and just Roy Keane them, right? But it doesn't help, and also I'm part of the performance as well. So I went in and I just individually picked out their strengths, right? We were 2-0 down anyway. And I think we end up drawing the game 2-2, or we won 3-2, I'm not sure what it was. But I selfishly believe that it was because it got everyone's perceptions on something different than we're losing, well, we're going to lose anyway, the pitch is no good, the ref is this, whatever, right? Because we just focus on nonsense a lot of the time, right? Or at least I do anyway. And so, you know, what you bring someone's attention to, they're more likely to get an outcome that is, you know, somewhere related to that. So bringing that back to manifestations, I feel clearly, like listening to you free speak, you're three very intelligent people. I don't think you watch TikTok and hear a manifestation and take away from it what I think millions of people do. That a manifestation is you something thinks of and then it appears. I don't think you guys do that because you're way too intelligent for that. So in terms of a manifestation for people listening, it's like, well, what is it? Well, it's the fact that you set your sights on something and then you create the behaviours and the processes and the systems that you consistently deliver on, and then you end up getting it. But a manifestation is nothing different than I want to walk and get a coffee. I'm going to have a coffee in 5 minutes. Okay, well then I need to stand up, I need to turn right, I need to walk. I need to do these things. I can't just go, I need a coffee, right? Because why is it not? Like, that's not how it works, right? But going back to what you said about your beliefs, I'm really fascinated about your reality. Sorry, is that people focus on reality, but that's the part that you shouldn't actually focus on. So, if you take a step back, you have your reality that you experience, and then you have your perceptions, which is the lens at which you look through to create the reality. And then what creates the lens of perception is your beliefs, and then what creates your beliefs is what you hold faith in, right? And so, in order to if you want someone to change, you have to make them aware of the level of their beliefs and why they hold those beliefs. Now, when it comes to beliefs, you will challenge any belief you have other than the beliefs you believe to be true, right? They'll be really hard to challenge, right? Because then that kind of, what's the word? Like discombobulates you from life and your reality and who you are as a person, right? When you're challenging those core beliefs. And so my advice to things like that would be focus less, be aware of and observe the reality you're experiencing. Take ownership and accountability that the reality you're experiencing is based on your perceptions, nothing else. And that those perceptions have been created, that lens of perception has been created by the beliefs that you hold, which majority of those beliefs aren't even yours. They're your parents and your grandparents, and even going back through ancestral stuff. And so observing life, not reacting to life or judging life, is the goal. Just observe. That is so. Taking it back, sorry, I'm going like here and everywhere. Taking it back to football, the best thing you can do is observe, not judge. Like, I was terrible for this at football. Like, I could have been so much better, but if I run down the wing and I crossed and the ball went out, I judge myself based on what the crowd would think of me, what my mates would think of me, what I thought of me, what the left back would think of me. And I'm walking back and I'm just caning myself with these thoughts. And then what happens the next time I get the ball? Where it runs under my foot, and then I give myself the same again. Whereas when I played my best, just let it go, and then just, you know, come back to the situation where it next comes, and naturally I'd have my best performances. But I wish I had my brain now with the ability I had when I was younger. I wouldn't have been Messi, but I would have been better than what I was.
Yeah, I think
You're supposed to say you would have bone Messi.
You would have been better, man. You would have been Messi. Imagine having Brett Norris cards and all that, you know?
Can't get rid of it. No one wants it.
But nonetheless, I think you're right, you know, the whole idea. But I feel like one thing I've kind of trained myself, and I tell my friends and colleagues as well, I feel like you live a better life, you live a more peaceful life when you're not so based, or when you're not so concerned about people's opinions and people's remarks or whatever it is, right? It's a hard thing to kind of train your mind into, because I feel like, especially for young adults, coming up in university, school life, they're around people, telling things, kind of bring them down and stuff like that. But I feel like if you choose to ignore these voices and try to just focus on yourself and your beliefs, and your self-esteem goes higher as well, and you get more self-confidence as well. I think that's as my journey, at least. But doing like a segue to another thing is you both are kind of more client-facing as well, right? So I've been in sales for a while, and I know when you meet clients, there are all types of clients you meet. There are the people who believe in what you do, the people who are kind of skeptical, and people who you just cannot train. They're just untrainable, because with the mind block, right? At least in my opinion.
Of course. Yeah, it happens.
You guys, how does it feel so far, the whole client-facing side of things? Like maintaining the client and kind of. I feel like at the end of the day, everything based on relationships, right? Right. Today I met Brett because I had a chat with him, and because I feel like we kind of built a link over here, right? And I know Mark through my colleagues and whatever it is. So, how's it for you guys, the whole client-facing side of things, like, and meeting different kind of clients? How's the whole experience for you, at least, Mark?
Well, I would say, first of all, gaining clients, it starts off hard, but once you get the ball rolling, it starts to become easier. You start learning new things. Definitely, I've trained clients who are experienced in the gym, and I've trained clients who've never picked a weight in their life, and I can say both are equally hard.
Okay.
Why being? Because someone who's experienced in the gym has goals, right? They still have a higher goal, right? So where you start right now, your goal is, okay, I want to move here, okay? But when you reach that goal, your next goal is, okay, I want to run there, right? So each step that you go, each goal, every client still has the thing of wanting to be somewhere where they're not currently. So someone who is new in the gym, you have to be more patient with them, For me, I have to be more patient with the client, understand that they can't do things. Like for me, what would be a very easy movement of catching a ball, people struggle, they lack awareness, they lack coordination, and we think it's just a normal human act. But we've trained in a certain way, our body's adapted to that certain way. It's like if someone has to talk to me about trading, I know nothing about trading, and if someone gave me a laptop and said, how do you not know this? It's like so easy. It's like, you just have to look at the numbers and monitor, just do all the maths real quick, and I'm like, okay, I can't do that. Like you said you're an engineer, right? Like if you had to give me something to work on, and you said, this is so easy, it's like the basics. This is like engineering 101, it's the basics. You just add this, and to me, I'm like, I'm sorry, like I've never seen it in my life. That's how clients are, and you've got to always think like your client first. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to clients and being a client. You've got to always put yourself in that situation, put yourself in their shoes, and view the lens that you're looking life at, because someone like who's in an injury, I'm sure Brad can relate to this as well. Someone who has an injury, the first thing they're always focusing on, yes, is the injury, right? But if they focus on getting better and focus on the small strengths, that's what's going to help build them up, So how I work with clients is like, even dealing with clients and the problems that they'll have is like, okay, if they've done this part right, let's focus on the part that you've done right. We can focus on the things that you've done after when it comes, we'll get it when it comes. But let's celebrate the small victories, and I think that's what most people kind of don't do these days. Everyone focuses on the big milestone.
Including, sorry to jump in, including a lot of coaches. Like you're very, exactly. I hope you understand, you're very different as a coach. You got a beautiful mindset as a coach. Yeah, it's really nice listening to you. It's amazing. It's amazing.
But it is hard in terms of when you need to when you need to be somewhere. You need to take that next step. Everyone's always focused on the 5 steps ahead.
For sure.
You had to come here today, right? You woke up in the morning, celebrate the first victory. At least you woke up. At least you woke up. Everyone's always focused on the end result, that you forget the first step you took makes a difference.
Yeah, like you can't reach the end milestone without the small victories. Yeah, absolutely. And like focusing only, obviously it's important to focus on the end goal and know where you're going so you can set your path to reach there. But those steps are the most vital thing to reach your end goal. Yeah. And something you mentioned, which is very interesting to me, is you said that the people who are new in the gym, like you feel like they need more patience. Yeah. But I could argue and say that actually people
I need more patience.
You need more patience.
Me being the trainer needs more patience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you feel that you would need more patience with someone who's already experienced in the gym, because they would be stuck to their old routines, and you having to teach them something new would be like to teach an old dog new tricks? But someone who's new would be slightly more plastic and more free to Right?
There is that thing, but what ends up happening is, see, as the client gets more comfortable, and obviously you're leveling up in your training, you're getting better and better. Me as a trainer with someone who's a beginner, I'm more patient with them. I'm more slow. I take more time to explain exercises to them. But when someone's more experienced, what I have to now focus on is how can I get the most efficient way of you doing that, and that still also requires patience. Yes, to answer your question, it would be lower. It would be lower than someone who's a beginner, but your focus still needs to be 100% with someone who's a beginner and someone who's advanced. Why? Because as you get advanced, every move matters. Okay, everything does matter, from your form to your technique to everything, how you carry it out, every breath that you take. Everything. It starts off that way. So. Me being a coach, you need to have the same level. Like if you treat every client with your 100%, you know that client's going to turn out well. So that's also a way of like maintaining clients and making sure that you're doing your best. Because if you're not going to do your best with every client, because your client's paying you a certain amount for you to deliver your best, whether it's 5 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the evening, you still have to do your best at that point in time. What's the point of like someone's coming in the evening and I'm like, oh, I'm too tired today to kind of train you, or maybe I'll give you just the pointers and sit here. Like I need to give my best all the time, and that's what helps carry forward and get more referrals and maintain more clients. Yeah.
You know what? I feel like it's a mixture of relearn, unlearn, and learn, right? Because think about it. There's so much information, as Brett said. TikTok, 20 million views, 30 million views of basic tips, and people blindly follows and kind of dive into it. And there's so much information, right? People say it's a good thing. Like back in my old days, I didn't have information, but now you have a lot of information. Yeah. We have our own difficulties as well, if you think about it, right? So it's a whole process of relearning, unlearning, and kind of learning again. At least that's something I preach, and I want the audience to know that as well. But kind of like a full circle, right? So Brett, you, what advice or what guidance would you give someone who wants to follow your footsteps in the fitness field, or anyone who wants to pursue their own career in this own space, and in terms of mentality and career as well, just for the audience, so you can.
In terms of starting off, don't specialise too soon. So when I started off, I'd learnt from what I thought was the best coaches in the world, and they'd all say spend time in the trenches. Now everyone, because now I'm approaching 40, it seems like everybody is a billionaire, right? With crypto and everything, right? Everyone wants to get to, like you were saying, a fast stage. Train everyone and learn to be in the trenches. Do the 6 a.m. morning sessions. Do the 6. You have to. You've just started, right? You got to learn your trade. So learn your trade. Understand that that's what you've got to do, and you've got to meet human beings, right? You've got to train human beings, and you've also got to understand that you really like body transformation, but actually you're really good at injury rehab, right? You're not great at body transformation, but you're good at injury rehab. So you want to learn, like, where am I actually good at versus where was my passion naturally, and then figure that out. The biggest thing I can say is know yourself. I am a people pleaser, right? So when I get to be a coach, I want to get you the result. It doesn't work. I want to get you the result. It doesn't happen. So as I learned that about myself, I realized that I have to build the self-efficacy within you for you to get the result, but I can still keep my care in. I just can never get that result for you. So it broke my heart. It still breaks my heart when I say to clients, I can't get the result for you, because I want to get the result for you because I'm a people pleaser, but I can't do it for you. I can only give you the tools to do it for yourself, which is really hard to do when your life is about pleasing people, right? It's really hard to do. So understand yourself, and then also understand the client that you're training, right? So have a framework, but what fills the framework can be flexible to clients. Don't have a my way or the highway approach. You know, you'll make a lot of money if you train very submissive clients, of course, but like, have a framework, but then have it very, very flexible to your clients based on the human beings that they are and the stories that they've got. Yeah.
Same question to you, Mark. Like, again, same question to you as well.
I'll have to repeat that question.
I just want to know, right, for the audience, whoever it is, people want to pursue PT or anything around the fitness field. What advice or what kind of guidance from your experience would you let them know?
So for someone who wants to pursue PT, or just if you talk about just the medical field or coaching, you could be a mindset coach for fitness as well. You could be a mindset coach for athletes, still in the fitness field. So if you really want to pursue fitness, first it would just be to just get into fitness. Know what are your strengths, what are your passions, what are your interests that you like. If you love talking to people, you don't really have to be a PT that just trains people. You could be a PT that coaches other PTs. Sure. So it's really broad. So don't limit yourself and take your time. I would say be patient with the process, trust the process. And like even in PT, as I learn more and more, there's so much more in fitness. Fitness is such a wide industry. There's mental fitness, there's physical fitness, there's social fitness. There's so much, that you can learn there. So be patient with it, and don't just dive headfirst into like your niche and find out, okay, I need to know my niche. Like before you can know your niche, you need to look at everything else as a whole. Like even me being a personal trainer right now, it took me, as it seems like, even though I'm young, it took me a long time to get here. Like I worked in real estate. I was a real estate agent for about 6 months. I worked in telemarketing. I worked in retail. So I've done it all. And I'm not even in university yet. My goal is to go university, but I was like, I just don't want to have a 9-to-5 job. I don't want to have a business degree, as everyone says. What's your degree? I have a business management, but okay, if you have it, what are you doing about it? Because today I find people I talk to, like where I'm at today, where they want to be or they want to pursue fitness, they've gone to university, they've done all the stuff. People have IT degrees, like when I went for interviews with jobs, people have big business degrees, people engineers, and they're pursuing fitness, and I'm just like, wow, I'm not even in university yet, and I'm here pursuing fitness. So it just made me feel like not great in terms of like, I feel proud, but it made me realize that, hey, everyone's trying to find something, everyone's trying to find what they feel called to. Sooner or later you find it. Like I can feel called to fitness right now, a few months down the line I could be called to either an other area in fitness, or I could be in a completely different field. So
Sorry.
Yeah, go.
Sorry. Can I just add something really quickly? That this goes for life as well as in your careers.
Yeah.
When a certain part of your life changes differently for all of us, you are going to think that your vulnerabilities are the things that people are going to pick on you for.
Yeah.
As you get older, right, and you don't care about your hair and your looks and all of this, you realise that your vulnerabilities are what make you relatable. Without being an open wound, share your vulnerabilities in a way that you've actually worked on them and the tools you've used to overcome them. And it will help you relate to the human being, because all I want to do in life is give another human being the potential to meet someone who cares about them as a person. And if I have to share my wounds and my vulnerabilities in a way to say, this is what I went through, this is what I did, and actually I'm a normal human being myself, I still have troubles and stresses and bad times and good times, and let them know that you aren't this perfect push-up merchant.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all I wanted to say.
No, that brings me to my next point, which is like people who want to go into fitness, you need to practice what you preach. Okay, if I'm a personal trainer, I need to also look the part, right? I need to be fit. I'm not saying you need to have a big bodybuilder muscle. You need to be fit, right? If you need to be an engineer, for example, right? You're not going to give anybody a degree in engineering, right? You've got to do the work. You study for so long, you know what it takes. You're good with numbers, you're good with certain things. Of course, you won't always be perfect in every area of coaching. Like for me, when it comes to PT, I would say, when it comes to delivering the exercise and the plans, I'm really good. When it comes to coaching clients and verbally and stuff, I feel like there's always not really a communication barrier, but how I express emotions, or things where I have to be like, okay, posture down, straighten your back, things like that. So there are always things where I need to work on. So my strengths are more in technique based, and I'm really good at the practical side of it, like giving you. But then when it comes to talking, kind of like, here and there. So you need to practice what you preach first. If you want to get into fitness, you need to know what it takes to have a transformation. Like if you want to be a transformation coach, you need to know what it takes. Like you need to start from somewhere, transform your body, and reach the end goal. If you've not been through that, how can you take your client through that?
Exactly.
Right? If
that's the annoying reason.
Exactly.
Everyone comes to me to look like Brad Pitt, and I'm like, that's not my job.
Exactly.
That's not my job.
Like if he didn't have an injury,
people,
like if Brett didn't have an ACL injury, he wouldn't have known that, okay, this is what he wants to get into. So if he hadn't got an ACL injury, if he hadn't recovered himself, he wouldn't have been able to take other people through.
So I think we can kind of capsulize, and we'll end with the last question. I think one is there is no one route to take to whatever destination you reach, right? And the good thing in today's age is we have several ways we can kind of from A to B, A to C, whatever it is, right? And I feel that's the beauty of it, right? For me, for example, I've been in cybersecurity, IT, marketing, e-commerce, different fields, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still testing the markets, testing the waters, right? So the one thing is, there's no one way route where this is how it's taken, and if not, you're gone. It's not like that. Today there's a lot of ways, trial and error, because we're young as well. And not for age as well, is this something you can try it out, because nothing to lose, isn't it? And second is, you spoke about a vulnerability as well. I believe that wholeheartedly, because I'm reading a book right now on Dare to Lead. It's about leadership and being vulnerable so that you can relate to them and kind of create a common ground for them as well. We're going to end this by just saying, I want to know for Brett and Mark, for you guys in your journey, in your career, or your life, what is something you guys want to improve on? What is something you guys are looking forward in the next couple of years or months? What is something that's happening, is what I'm trying to ask.
This isn't related to business at all, but I'm getting married in August to my favourite person in the whole world. I know she's going to watch this, so that for me is, that's amazing. I got goosebumps, that's amazing. Other than that, I'm not going to tell you, no, I want this clinic or I want that. I want to meet as many human beings as possible, and I want to help them have the life that they want. That's all I want, and in whatever capacity that happens, fantastic. But generally, I've been in this game for 20 years. I care more than I did before. I just want to meet good people and help them live better lives, you know. So.
Yeah, for me, similar to what Brett said, I just want to make an impact in people's lives, and that's my future goal. Like each time that I get into a room with a client, or each time that I talk to a client on the phone, possible client or anybody, I always want to leave with an impact with that person, you know, and also when I leave with an impact, I'm also impacted by that person's presence, you know, like me being here today, I am also impacted with being surrounded by you guys, and you always learn something new. So my future plans is like, I just want to continuously make an impact on a wider scale. I want to reach more people, you know, and the fruit of this will obviously end up getting more clients and more things like that, but the main focus is never money success. It's always about the people, you know. So any business will always grow if you always meet the need of somebody, you know. So that's my goal. I just want to meet the needs of people, you know, and that's how every successful business starts. You need water, it's a need. You need anything, it's always a need. So be the need, not to be a want, because everyone's wants are going to change. Today I'm going to want a Pepsi, tomorrow I'm going to want a 7-Up. But be a need. What do people need in their life, you know? And be that positive change. Be focused on making that change and being that change to others and offering that. So yeah, that's what I want to do.
For sure. You know what, Mark, you're right. I think the whole thing is with, I feel like money will come its own way regardless, right? If you chase money, you're not going to go too far, am I right?
I was watching a Netflix show the other day, and they said, I'm still watching it, and they said, don't give power. Oh god, it's about American government that are in England. There's issues going on.
Is it the Diplomat?
It might be the Diplomat.
Yeah.
It might be the Diplomat. Yeah. I'm never good with titles, but I remember the storyline. Basically, the wife now is got the big job, the job that the husband used to do, and they're talking about power, and he says, never give power to someone who wants power. That is a really good rule.
Yeah.
Never give money to someone who wants money, you know, like, people that genuinely care about people always say to you, of course they want money, like, of course they do, want to live in a nice house, have a nice car.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I think that point is really, really important. Like, money is an aside. Money is a result of how good I am. If I'm good, I get money, but I don't want to chase money because I'm putting people aside, and I never want to put people aside.
Yeah, we're saying
incentive, isn't it? Nonetheless, guys, I feel it was great. A very fun, candid chat.
Yeah,
right?
thank you.
It was
It was
nice.
great.
It was great, and the idea is behind this whole CoffeeConnect is essentially to show raw information and just to kind of relate to the crowd as well. As you spoke of vulnerability, there's no one route to take in your career, and the idea is to kind of show the audience. And I'll be very frank, one of the things about Dubai youth is very complacent. Essentially, it's like a bubble, right? People in that illusion of, hey, you know what, I'm good, things are gonna be fine. But once university hits, once it gets done, they're like, what now? What do I do? And
I'm not even in university, and I already felt that. My friends are in university. I'm like, take your time. Like, whether people at 80 are getting degrees, you know. Not saying that degree is not important. Of course, if you want to be a doctor or engineer or whatever, go pursue that degree. But you know, people who have degrees just become complacent, and I'm like, I don't want myself to ever be complacent in that sense, you know, having a degree. So, yeah, with that, I think on that's really cool.
So I mean, all I'm trying to say is, I think the idea is kind of to bring relatable content to people, for them to kind of get inspired, or whatever it is, as the name goes, Inspire Me. We will be having a lot of these different sets of guests on a multi-day basis. But nonetheless, guys, it was great having you guys for our CoffeeConnect episode 2. Another good episode, and we have to catch up soon. I'm going to do some collaboration.
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, guys, thank you for your time, and that's about it for us today.